Entrepreneur, author, and financial consultant Mark Bernstein helps high-performing entrepreneurial business owners create a vision for the future and follow through on their goals and intentions. Ange Honorato is a business growth strategist who blends psychology and business together to create conscious leaders and business owners who impact the world. Founders Forum is a radio show podcast sharing the real stories behind entrepreneurship as founders discover more about themselves while providing valuable lessons and some fun and entertainment for you. Now, here's Mark and Ange.
Good morning, America. It's a good morning in Philadelphia, except it's raining. I was walking in the parking lot, and I was talking to a woman. I said, nice day for ducks. And it's always nice to just say something. So turns out we started talking golf, and her husband knows the people I know, and I know the people her husband knows. It's just a funny story. Anyway, so a thought for the day, Ange. I was listening on the way in. I tried to listen to WWDB, but I was having trouble getting it on my phone, and instead I ended up with Howard Stern, the best of Stern, and he was interviewing Bruce Springsteen. And I'd never heard, it was great. And I never heard the beginning of the interview. And it was all about how he started in the business and auditioned for John Hammond at CBS Records. And Howard asked sometimes the best questions. He asked, what were you thinking in the elevator as you're going up CBS Records? And he was thinking, because Bruce knew that John Hammond was a legendary A&R guy in the business and all that. So obviously he was nervous. So he said, I was just trying to convince myself that my life is good the way it is if this doesn't work out, and all I got to do is go in there and sing. And it started out almost as a disaster, and of course he did that, and he got signed. And the other theme that they were talking about was Bruce's fierce independence. He never had a songwriting partner like Lennon and McCartney or Jagger or Richards, and he said that's because of the way he was brought up and that he always decided he was going to be fully independent. So if you see most of his records, it doesn't see Bruce Springsteen in the E Street Band. It says Bruce Springsteen. So he owned responsibility. So I was thinking about the concept because there's several things going on in my business life and my personal life at the moment that makes me think all the time that I need to be that fiercely kind of independent, not meaning that you don't rely on other people. I have partners. I have a spouse. I have, other people in my life, but this idea of, being responsible for manifesting my own destiny is something that, Bruce Springsteen, great example of that. And Ange and I were talking a little bit about this, and I also thought of Bruce Springsteen as an entrepreneur. I know he doesn't think of himself that way, but I think he sold his catalog for his songs for somewhere between 300 and 500 million. That's pretty entrepreneurial, if you ask me. So. Any thoughts on that subject, Anne?
Well, I could talk about Bruce for hours, as we know. It's been I've been a fan my whole life, but yeah, absolutely. And in fact, I think it's really interesting because it's a great tie-in to our guest today, and I'll introduce her in a minute. But when you talk about owning your responsibility for manifesting your destiny and bringing in the right people around you to support, but really as an entrepreneur in particular, you've got to be able to move forward no matter what's coming at you. And I think the personal accountability piece is really huge. And obviously it worked out well for Bruce. It worked out very, very well for Robin, our guest I'm going to talk about in a minute here today. But yeah, great thought for the morning, especially driving in the rain.
So anxious to hear from our guest Robin. So Ange, why don't you introduce her?
Yeah, so our guest today is a good friend of mine and an amazing businesswoman by the name of Robin Sciarra. And I'm just going to read off a list of just a few things that Robin does. Okay, so she is the visionary founder of Meraki Creative and Spark with the Masters, which is a boutique agency specializing in marketing, media services, and she even does weekend retreats for conscious entrepreneurs. She is the co-founder of Sciarra Restaurant Group, which is comprised of several different multi-concept restaurants, particularly here in the Wildwoods, which is near and dear to my heart. And they've all become, staples and, businesses that leave a real legacy, here on the island. She's also co-founder of Hen Brewing and its newest subsidiary, Hen Hospitality, which just opened this year. And it's really the area's first, what we call a micro resort called the Hen Houses, which is a perfect blend of really preserving history as well as providing, modern luxury resort services. And on top of all of this, she is a mom of 3 very active young kids. So I don't know how she does it. I don't think she sleeps, but she is just a tried and true entrepreneur. You spend a few minutes with her and you just see her mind is always going. She's creating, she's manifesting. She is just she's an unbelievable entrepreneur and a great friend. And I'm really excited for us to dive in a little bit and, get her story and her backstory and learn what makes her tick and kind of where she's looking to go in the future. So Robin, thank you so much for joining us today. I know it was kind of a rainy day all around and a rush to get into the studio. So thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. That was an amazing intro, and I don't think I realized half of that about myself. So I appreciate you and your kind words.
Absolutely. Well, and I don't think that you sit still long enough to know that. And she's, that's why I think it's good to not just take accountability, but sometimes to celebrate, yourself and your accomplishments. And I think, and I want to add too, Mark, that these are businesses that she runs and co-founds and co-creates, but it's the impact in terms of the growth of creating jobs, and really just kind of creating a legacy that is going to far extend the region that she's in today. And I think that's an interesting point. I think we'll have some fun diving into a little bit today also.
By the way, I read about, and I didn't make the connection, I read about the micro resort concept. I think in the Philadelphia Business Journal. Wasn't there an article recently, Robin?
There was,
yeah.
Actually.
So I read that.
I believe.
Yeah.
The Inquirer. I have to get up my hands on that. I haven't
been.
Seen it yet.
I saw it somewhere, and I thought, well, this is very interesting. Not having any idea we'd be talking to you. So, Robin, as a start, tell us about your background and tell us about some maybe things early in your life that helped bring you to where you are today.
It's interesting that you asked that because my background is. My mom always said, to give you an example, that I am a jack of all trades, master of none.
I got that one too, so I can connect with that.
Yeah, and in hindsight, I truly believe that everything that I have experienced up until this point was for a reason. And fresh out of college, I worked for a software company, accounting software company, and I was a sales assistant. So I was behind a desk, and I learned a little bit about myself at that point in life where I knew I wasn't meant to be at a desk all day. And then from there, I just have always been in sales, whether it be, in the advertising industry, which I loved, and I learned a lot about myself there. That's where I realized that I do love the creative behind the ad creation. And, I liked being out on the road. I liked creating the relationships with accounts and that type of vibe. And then I went into the food industry, which is what I've always known, being, on an island and a summer resort area. I've always known the restaurant industry, at which point that's when I connected with my current partner, Brendan, who I've always worked in restaurants with. And from there, the rest is history. We opened, at the time he had ran and operated Dogtooth Bar and Grill. And then from there, we snowballed into Poppy's Brick Oven Pizza, at which point from there, we decided to open up a brewery, and all of them, God willing, and blessed to say that there are high volume restaurants. Sometimes I'm like, wow, how are we even doing this? And they bring in people. Our goal is to create a destination area and a destination areas just in general, so that we could kind of maximize and monopolize off of the winter now also, and not just the summer. So a year-round destination, spot is really what our goal is, to help even the local economy. So that is where we're headed. And just sitting here listening to my own intro, it's kind of surreal to sit back and see what has developed. And to be honest, I don't think any of it was planned, even between me and, my partner, Brendan. None of it was really planned. We sort of just are the risk takers of it all. So I would say that's my main title, the risk taker.
Gotcha. So I was that's great lead into what I was going to ask you next, but you grew up at the Jersey Shore, right? So you're always a shore person, correct?
I was born in Philadelphia, but relocated here in 6th grade, at which point, we've always had our summer house And the Wildwoods has always been close to my heart. It's a great community, year-round community. And the people who do transplant here come to realize that it really is a tight-knit, amazing community. And I could say that like it's something that's really close to my heart and I believe in the growth of.
I do know many people relocating there. In fact, a good long-term client friend of mine and his wife just relocated there, and they're in North Wildwood. So I think they're in the Crest, actually. So
yeah.
I'll have to introduce you at some point.
The Crest is the best.
Yeah,
so, as we know.
Get some new customers. But you mentioned that that you started to say your unique. What is your unique ability? You said you were the what was the words you just used? I just forgot. You just said something.
The risk taker.
The risk taker. But risk taking is a quality. I don't know if it's your unique ability. You also have the creative mind, obviously, for marketing and advertising. If you had to say the commonality amongst all the things you do for all the businesses, what is because you're that, like, I don't like that master, jack of all trades, master of none, is, that's not always meant as a compliment, so,
yeah.
But there's obviously a couple of things that you've mastered. What would you say they are?
Oh, well, one, I believe that I have mastered being in a flow state, which is not easy for a lot of people. And it definitely takes work and practice. And not many people understand what exactly a flow state is.
Yep.
I, for the past 6 months, was by far in a flow state. Otherwise, I never would have done 7 homes, built, designed, and open, and all of the marketing if I wasn't in a flow state. None of it was planned. None of it was planned. I was just in flow state and allowed it all to come. And before I knew it, I looked around and here was the Hen Houses. And that's something that some people can't relate to. But the way I do that is through meditation, yoga, clearing my space so that the outside, world doesn't affect my flow space, my flow type of, space, which it may seem a little woo-woo, but it definitely works. And I think I'm proof of that.
Well, I actually completely get that. In fact, I do. Ange and I talk about this. I am statements in the mornings. And one of them is about that in my life, I'm flowing effortlessly, comfortably, and happily. And to me, is that a good description of a flow state? You can go from one thing to another without all the stress, and I'm a big meditator, and I think that's a big help in that. And I'm not there, but I'm certainly working towards that. But is that how you would understand or explain a flow state?
Yeah, I mean, affirmations are a huge part of it because that's your own voice to yourself telling you, that you can and you will, and I am, and I am flow, I am peace, I am, all of those affirmations are a big, huge part of it in conjunction with, different types of meditation. So for example, if I feel, and there were several times during that 6-month period where I was having creative blockages and, I just wasn't flowing, or, different things. So I have different tools and tactics to actually enhance my creativity. And one of them is something that I call open meditation, at which point I'm not listening and I'm not thinking. I am listening. I'm not thinking of just my surroundings. So I will pause, come back to my breath. And this could be even in my chair, or it doesn't have to be in a meditative, fancy room with candles. It could be as I'm walking, basically just stopping, taking a deep breath and just listening to everything around me for as long as I possibly can. And that in itself has now cleared space in my mind. It's cleared the clutter. It's cleared everything to allow for new things to come in. So that's one of the tools on top of the affirmations that I, like to incorporate, or even so different times of the day and areas where I know creativity flows to me. For example, the shower, or today in the rain. There's something about the water and even the temperature that enhances, I believe, some type of chemical that increases creativity. And that's also when I'm shaving, I have some of my most profound thoughts, or when I'm in my car. For some reason, I have a lot of, driving, and sometimes I don't even listen to the radio because that allows it to flow and it just comes. And prayer, I'm a big advocate of prayer. I believe yoga is my moving prayer which also creates and opens up space to a lot, things to come in. And with the moving prayer, there are days where I'd be like, please, universe, let me turn around and have everything I need to get this project done. And I would go to an antique store and there would be boom, 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 20 things that I needed. And I think it's a part of being, and again, this may sound woo-woo, but a manifester and attracting.
So I love that woo-woo answer, because usually you ask people their unique ability, and it might be, I can spot talent, or I can see opportunity where other people don't see opportunity, or I am a really good manager of people, or whatever it is. Yours is woo-woo, and I think that's great, because it really is. It's because you do so many different things that it's the thing that you've mastered that helps you, or I say mastered, that's obviously it's a lifetime progression, and it's something you're always working on, but you are using an ability that you have to get through everything that you do during the course of a day, which is a lot from what we've understood. And it's time for a break, so we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to continue right after that.
Establishing a self-directed Roth IRA or other self-directed retirement plan offers access to investment options usually only available to well-connected or wealthy individuals. Anyone can build wealth and achieve tax-free income for life and financial freedom without the inordinate risk of speculative investing, securities trading, exotic financial instruments, or hoping for the best from the stock market. Since their start in 2003, Camaplan has come to be synonymous with expertise, flexibility, responsiveness, and diversity in investment choices. They provide innovative investment opportunities for investors seeking direct control and more choices in how they deploy their investment capital. Camaplan doesn't just make it possible to invest in alternative assets, they also teach investors how to put their money to work. Take the road to financial freedom today. Go to camaplan.com/IRA.
We are back on Founders Forum with Robin Sciarra, our guest today. And Ange, I'm anxious for you to ask a question, but before, I just do have one quick one. We talk a lot on the show about, we've talked about what's contributed to your successes, and you've had many of them across a wide spectrum of activities, Robin, but can you identify any failures? And that's a bad word, because lessons, exactly. Somebody, I just heard a great expression. It's not win or lose; it's win or learn. Right. So, what can you identify any experiences you've had in your life that have been great learning lessons that other people might see as a failure?
Oh. There's a lot. And again, I probably wouldn't be where I am if I didn't learn from them. And that's probably one of the biggest lessons. So, with the hiccups, with the quote failures, unquote, come the voices, I feel like my own personal voice, the voices of my coaches that are reminding me to keep going no matter what those hiccups are. So, one of my biggest lessons is, there's so many lessons that I've learned along the way, but one of the biggest lessons I feel is to keep my eye on my own vision. Brendan and I, my partner, he gets very competitive. I don't get competitive. I kind of use it as fuel to get better. And I also believe in friendly competition and collaboration and growth in that aspect. And, one of my biggest lessons is this isn't just me sitting here. I may be the face of it. My partner may be the face of it, but at the end of the day, it's the team across the board and the ones that are really believing in the brand that are helping us grow. And if I feel that, there's a person who is not in alignment with that, then it's very important for me to, one, either be communicative about it to that particular person, or to make changes that I need to do to get rid of those blockages. Because there have been several times throughout our, experience that there have been people that weren't in alignment with our vision or our brand and have tried to take us down. And, that's like a dark cloud. It's a blockage, and it's not allowing us to grow as quickly that we need to. Because right now we need to grow quickly in order to pay back. Let's be serious. It's a big risk we're taking, and we have a lot of bills. It's a lot of pressure, a lot of stress. Everybody, may think from the outside that it's, glamorized and that we own these businesses and we're booming in business, which is all very true. But when you're booming in the business and you're looking to grow and expand, it still costs money to invest in. So, our brand is in the growth state for sure, but it's also very important to be aware of who your team consists of so that there aren't any blockages and that everybody is in alignment with the vision of the brands. So that was one of the lessons, I feel, to be very aware of that.
You said a couple interesting things there. One is keep your eye on the ball, keep your eye on the vision, which is a great lead into our next set of questions. But the other thing you said is that people don't recognize, and we talked to a lot of, obviously, business founders on the show and nonprofit founders. And even in the nonprofits, people think, they see the outside world, they see the marketing, they see your name all over the place, and they think it's a bed of roses. But obviously business is hard. It's difficult, and there's a lot of things in the way. Keeping your team aligned is a huge part of success. But there are so many other factors, managing cash flow, managing supply chain, managing your vendors, managing employees, all of that. And it's just a really good, insightful thing that you brought out there.
Yeah, definitely. And Mark, I just want to add something to this as well. And knowing Robin as well as I do, and I've been a patron of her restaurants. I do yoga with her all the time. I've been to weddings at her resorts. I've attended and spent time at the Hen Houses. And I can tell you that everything that you're talking about, and that is true for the business, and being in that flow state and allowing the creativity to come through and managing the business very, very well from a financial perspective. But there's one really important thing I think that's helpful to understand both about her businesses, but also just, I think, a key foundation for anybody that owns a business or is thinking of starting or is in the midst of starting up a company, is that I think there's a tendency to, when you're taking those risks and you're rushing to kind of pay things back or, expand and grow, to maybe sometimes, I don't want to say cut corners, or to kind of find the least, effective or most cost-effective way. And that's not always the right way, I think, to kind of bring the best customer experience in, right? So if you attend or you go and you visit any or patronize any of Robin's businesses, when you walk through a building, you see the attention to detail, the high quality, whether it's materials, the artwork, the craftsmanship, the customer experience, the things that go above and beyond. Every aspect of it. I tell her all the time that she's a freak of nature, because no one thinks and prepares the customer experience the way that she leads, and the way her business is, and the way her and Brendan do. And I think that is what really brings a sustainable legacy building organization, no matter what business that you're in. When you use the best quality ingredients or products or craftsmanship or the way that you approach your customers, that's what I think really is going to grow a business even more than, no matter how great your social media is, or, how it's really that piece, right? Because without your customers and around over delivering, then you really don't have everything else. And so I just want to point that out, that it's not even really a question I have for Rob, and I'm trying to get her to receive that that celebration more often. But I do think it's a good lesson, and it's important for any business to really think about. Don't skimp on things, because it matters and it lasts, right?
Well, that makes me want to write down that I need to visit those establishments in my next trip to the Wildwoods, which is coming up soon. So
it needs to be on the top of the list for sure.
I need to make sure to do that. So we'll see you down there. Robin, just looking out over the next few years, whether it's, I'll let you pick your vision for the next year, 3 years, or 10 years, which is how I like to group them. Pick one and tell us what you see for the future, since you're a vision person.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't usually envision myself, which is interesting. But
well, for your businesses, for you,
for thrown into the visions. I usually get told, "We bought a piece of property. What are we doing?"
Gotcha.
So with that being said, our 1 year vision is to expand upon our special events. So, it's important. It's a huge cash cow also and I think just a need in general for, bigger events down here, weddings at a brewery, because the modern couple is not spending 70 grand on a wedding. They want something a little bit more intimate, maybe a little bit more trendy. So we are more than likely expanding next on the Mud Hen Brewing Company grounds, an event space. So there's a corner property that we had purchased back in February, a Japanese restaurant that we plan on knocking down and creating a big kind of like a music venue / event space where we could host, live music past 11 o'clock, because a lot of our neighbors don't really, appreciate that. So, and, we like music, and there's a great, almost like that Nashville vibe, that Nashville, Charleston vibe is something that I foresee in that kind of area, which I would love to happen. But with that being said, that will more than likely be our next project, followed by a little bit more hospitality units maybe within the area. So maybe a few more houses going up. And from there, maybe even outside of Wildwood, I foresee, different areas expanding, maybe with less taxes than New Jersey.
Interesting.
For sure.
Well,
yeah, I foresee it going, and a lot of our investors see it a brand that may go global. And, I am a big fan of Sam Clagione of Dogfish Head Brewing Company in Delaware. He's been a very big influential entrepreneur in my life. And that would be a great kind of overall vision of mine, is to get to that point.
hey, you're talking music. You're talking my language. We started out talking about music, and we only have a minute left. Real quick, off the cuff question, your favorite musical artist or your favorite album or what you're listening to right now?
Well, it's Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift. We were talking about her this morning.
Yeah, that's my daughter. But I am actually a very diverse type of music listener, and I love a good Fleetwood Mac album. And then I could go to Snoop Dogg. So, right now it's Fleetwood Mac is my vibe.
But you like quality music across the board, all genres, I'm guessing it sounds like.
All genres, yeah.
And Taylor Swift, we were talking about another young entrepreneurial woman. Talk about entrepreneurs in music. She's got the market covered.
She owns it for sure.
Absolutely.
Yes, she does. And she's got those ticket sales going, so she must be doing something right.
Yep.
And re-releasing her own albums under Taylor's version. Yeah, she's got it going on.
Robin, it's been great to have you here.
Convinced me to get a $2,000 ticket.
It's unbelievable. I don't mean to cut you off, but we're just about out of time. Thanks so much for being here today, Robin. We've really enjoyed talking to you. I know Ange always does, and I enjoyed meeting you and talking to you for the first time. And we hope to see you again.
Yeah, well, I'll see you in Wildwood.
See you in Wildwood. And to all our listeners, thanks for being with us
We hope you
spiritually in Wildwood today.
And you found value.